In today's video, I'm tackling the new Defiler from start to finish. How long will it take me to get it done? I don't know. But we will find out in today's video. This video would not be possible without Underworld Gaming, who very kindly sponsored this video and sent this model out to me. If you want to go and check them out, I'll leave a link down in the description below. They are, of course, the premium hobby shop here in Ireland. So if you want to order up your miniature games, your board games, your card games, or anything else, make sure to check them out. They do great deals, about 15% off retail for Games Workshop, which is awesome. And they also have a gigantic hobby space in their store. So they run tournaments and events and all sorts of other great things. It's primo. Make sure you go check them out. They're so awesome that they in fact also donated this box set for me to give to one of my patrons this month. So if you want to help support the channel and sign up to Patreon, you may be with the chance of winning one of the new Eldritch Raider box sets this month. There's a whole host of other reasons to get involved with that, so you'll see that down in the description when you check out Patreon. And a big thank you to everyone out there that likes and watches and comments and subscribes to the channels. That's all amazing. Please keep doing all of that. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in and get this awesome Defiler model painted up Nurgle style. Okay, big scary model. Can we get it done fast? It does look like it's a fairly complicated piece, and I can understand how a lot of people are getting worried about painting this thing up. Well, in fact, it's only really like 3 components. It's skin, it's an armor color, and then it's like the metallics, trim with gold and silver for like armored feet and stuff. It's those 3 colors repeated over and over again in different sections of it. So if you have a good recipe for doing gnarly skin, if you've got a good recipe for whatever armor panel you want, whether you want for Thousand Suns or World Eaters or Black Legion or whatever, you're gonna be fine. And I have kind of good setups in my head already on how to do those. This model is of course getting added into my new Death Guard army, which I've been slowly piecing together over the last kind of year. Whenever I've gotten a break in other projects, I've managed to do a unit or two. I've basically got 2 units of infantry, some Terminators, and then I ended up with a load of just weird stuff. I have Typhus, I have a Night Titan, I have a Warhound Titan. I've got all these big things, but not enough infantry. So I thought the best thing to do to remedy this was to add a Defiler. Oh no, wait a minute. That's the wrong way. But oh well. Anyway, the Defiler. So what I'm going to do is I sprayed the entire model black, and then I gave it a nice coat of grey cere, which is how I start the painting process for all of my Death Guard miniatures. And then I just started violently attacking the base coats of this. So Plague Bearer Flesh Contrast was used on all of the flat panel armor panels of this behemoth. And when I say behemoth, I don't actually mean it. The Defiler is a little bit smaller than I was expecting, which is good. I don't need gigantic models on the tabletop. Hard to transport, it's more work to paint them. And obviously the points value I don't think equates to something being bigger than what it is now. The way it was kind of pictured in all the resources from like Warhammer community and stuff, it made it seem as though it was going to be like a Night Titan size. It's not. It's about the same size as an old Defiler, if you were curious. So with the Plague Bearer Flesh applied to all those armor panels, we then moved on to Guilliman Flesh Contrast and applied this to all of the skin sections that exist on this beast. There is quite a lot of skin and a lot of it is hidden, so please do take your time. Look behind all the armor panels and all the little nooks and crannies. You will find more skin than you were expecting in these places. Even the weapon mounts, there's bulbous kind of skin bits on the backside. And then if you're adding the missile launcher like I did, like the bed of the missiles is also like a big fleshy pod. It's kind of gross. So maybe some sort of demonic energy inside creates new rockets. I don't know. But I did that. After that, it was time for Lead Belcher, and I started applying this on all the metallic brass. Obviously, there's a lot of piston work going on connecting the legs to the torso. Obviously, the legs themselves. Some work on the big kind of chimney stack on the back where the head goes in. Sections like that. I'd say all in all, it took me maybe 20 minutes to block in all the silver metallics across this entire thing. Sorry, all the silver metallics. And then we had to go on to the kind of gold color, which I actually leaned into and grabbed a Too Thin Coats paint. I love Games Workshop paints, I really do. I use them pretty much exclusively when I'm painting a Games Workshop miniature because I like people who have bought these miniatures mostly have Games Workshop paints, especially those who are looking for help painting. Like if you've broadened out and moved away from Games Workshop paints, you're probably a fairly competent painter and you're not looking for my help. My videos tend to target more kind of beginner friendly people. And those people have kind of gotten their first kind of few dozen miniatures and they're getting into painting. They're kind of get over some of their struggles and stripes when it comes to painting, which means they've probably gone to a Games Workshop and bought some paints. But the brasses don't do it for me. So I'm going to grab this steampunk copper and I'm going to use this for all of the trim work on this. Now this took a good bit longer than the silver. I'm not going to lie. There is a serious amount of trim on this thing. Just like any chaos thing out there, it's a lot. And because we've already done some silver, we've already done the armor panels green, it does mean we have to take our time, not overshoot, not be messy, not paint outside the lines. Just take our time and do it. So all in all, I'd say this was about half an hour, 35 minutes of just blocking in the trim for this model. When you see it next, you will see the amount of trim that's on it and it will make a hell of a lot more sense. It's a lot of trim, but it's looking good already, right? Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some Black Legion contrast, and this is just for some of the pipe work. There's lots of pipes and things connecting from underneath the body up to all of the limbs, including the arms. I just didn't cut those cables out because obviously I'm painting the arms in subassembly. I have the best of intentions of cutting them out and gluing them on when I finish the subassembly and just giving them a coat of black. I'm editing now and realized that I'd forgotten to do that, so maybe I'll go back and do that next week. Who knows? But yeah, there's a bunch of cabling and stuff coming out of the body, so try and find all those bits and pieces, block them in with your Black Legion. And then I threw my texture paste on the base. I have like a Martian-y theme going with all of my Death Guard. It contrasts so well with that kind of gnarly green color. I love it, and I will continue to do it forevermore on all of my Space Marine projects, so they match. So now it's time for Agrax Earthshade applied to the entire thing. Not the base, but every single other part is getting done with Agrax Earthshade. All the skin, all the armor, all the metallics, everything, top to toe, Agrax Earthshade. When that is fully dry, it's time to start layering up. Now, normally I would go for Death Guard green, but I'm actually out of Death Guard green, or else I can't find my Death Guard green. So Deathworld Forest had to step in. It's okay, it won't make too much of a difference at all. There's lots of coats to go on top of it, so yeah. If you are following along and you want to do the Nurgle like my guys, it is, of course, usually Death Guard green for this. And this is where we just do a very scratchy mid-tone layer up of all those armor panels again. We're not trying to go to the edges. We're not trying to fill in any of the grooves. We're not trying to get really close to all the metallics. It's very quick. It is no way, shape, or form going to take, half an hour to do this stage. It's going to take maybe 3 or 4 minutes for the entire Defiler to get done with this stage. This way of doing Death Guard armor is something that I stumbled across myself. It's my own invention. I think it looks really cool and it's really simple to do. And like I said, the Death Guard green goes then into the same step again with Nurgling green, just a little bit lighter. We don't want to cover up those previous steps, and we're just looking for scratchy highlights of Nurgling green. Now what this does is it ends up giving the tank or whatever armored vehicle or whatever power armor model you're doing quite a pallid, drab look, which isn't what I'm after. And I think when I was originally kind of playtesting and, trying to figure out this scheme, I had gotten to this stage here where I'd layered up like they suggested in the book with the Death Guard green and the Nurgling green. And I was left with this color that I just really didn't like. It was just so subtle. And I wanted something a little bit more toxic looking, a little bit more exotic, a little something that's going to jump off the tabletop. And that's where I stumbled across the use of yellow glaze. Now, I have pots and pots of the Games Workshop yellow glaze still kicking about my workshop, so I get to use that whenever I need to. But obviously, Games Workshop does not make yellow glaze anymore, which can be a bit of a problem. But luckily for us, Two Thin Coat steps in again, and their yellow glaze is basically an exact 1-for-1 match between the old Games Workshop glaze and the Two Thin Coats one. So to follow along with this thing, you don't need to try and find yourself an old Games Workshop one. Just grab a pot of the Two Thin Coats yellow glaze and you are there. And you may be wondering why the hell I'm talking about yellow glaze. Well, as soon as I'm finished with the scratchy highlights on the green armor. Okay, so with the scratchy kind of greeny highlight out of the way, like I said, it's now time for me to show you what I use that yellow glaze for. And you can see how the armor panel looks quite dull, like I was talking about a minute ago. It's just not popping the way I want it to. And I'm going to use this las cannon as the example because it's kind of smaller, it's closer up to the camera. And watch what happens when I apply a simple coat of yellow glaze to the green. It simply explodes. It looks absolutely incredible. It gives me that exact kind of toxic look that I really want. This day and age, I am much more preference oriented towards more bright and vibrant armies. I want them to explode off the tabletop. I don't need, you know, the grimmest of grimdark armies that people really adore. It's not really my style. I'm not a fan of Blanchitsu style artwork and models and painting style, all that really grim. I like color, I really do. Here's a side-by-side of the two different weapon arms with the glaze applied, and you can see it makes an absolutely colossal difference. So of course I will continue and carry that over to the main Defiler body itself and get all that armor done in that bright, vibrant green. Now it's time to move over to the next stage. We have finished the green armor. We're now looking at the second of the 3 sections, which is the skin. Cadian flesh tone was then used, and I used this to highlight the skin, aiming for those kind of big, kind of bulbous sections. And anywhere where the Agrax shade has kind of sunk down and created shadow, we want to leave those sections nice and dark. Obviously, I don't want this to just look like normal skin. That would look a little bit weird. I want it to look distressed and sore and red. So my secret weapon for that is, after I have done the mid-tone of painting my skin for my Nurgle, which is this, I then go back over it with another shade. And for this one, I like to reach for Berserker Bloodshade. This will give a nice solid coat and basically just warm up the skin and make it look really rosy and raw. I don't thin it down at all. It's straight from pot to palette and palette to model. But once again, it's another kind of happy accident I found whilst I was doing my testers for my Death Guard. I started doing the skin and it just looked a little bit too, you know, normal Caucasian white skin, and Death Guard shouldn't have that. It should have some level of decay. But like I said, I'm not going for that horrible pus and gore look. I want something a little bit brighter. So after that stage was fully dry, we do go back to the Kislev Flesh and we go in again with those very scratchy, fast moving highlights. Minimum coverage, but maximum effect. It's looking really nice. It's going to make that skin tone pop, but not pop more than the green armor. I think there's levels of poppiness with your model. You've got to decide what colors you want to bring to the forefront and what colors you want to leave behind. So I want the skin to be one of the poppiness areas, if that makes sense, but not as crazy as the armor. So with the Kislev Flesh layered up, it does give a really nice result, and I was really happy with that. That just leaves one section of this model left to paint, and that is of course the metallics. So we are left with some silver to highlight and some gold to highlight. And I'm going to cheat so hard with the gold that you're going to be shocked. With the silver, I just want to spend a little bit more time because of all the pistons that are going to go into skin and all the connection points between the arms and the body. I can't really just move fast with a dry brush because I'll end up hitting those sections, and that's not what I'm trying to do. So I go in with a small kind of pointed brush. I take my time and I layer up those armored sections as I go. Doesn't take long. I'm not trying to be super meticulous with it. I'm not trying to be super, because the greatest thing about Nurgle is you don't have to be perfect, and it ends up looking really nice still. So as you can see, I'm going for those higher areas, adding that bright silver in to make it pop. And with that same lead belcher, but now on a dry brush, I'm dry brushing this across all of the golden trim. So I don't have to go in and individually layer up all that trim. The light, soft bristle dry brush will catch all those sharp edges. Because there's such a small amount of silver paint on my brush, it's only kind of transferring from the brush to the model on really harsh corners, which means it's not going to transfer across any of that green. It's just going to hit the sharp edges of the gold, and it works super quick and it's super easy. You could have spent another half an hour, 40 minutes meticulously highlighting all of that trim. And if you've got a half an hour, 45 minutes and you want to do that, go for it. I don't have the time, so my dry brush will work for me just fine. I did a quick 3-stage red highlight on the missiles. I did the eye lenses in the same 3 colors with the red and with a dot of white in the corner just to make it pop out. And the model is really starting to come together now. We're going to add one last touch in, and that's Nilic Oxide. Just add a little bit more weathering, a little more kind of a battered look. Obviously this thing's a little bit hard to focus on. It wants to focus on the pincers up close, and I'm trying to paint something a little bit more in the foreground, and that can be a little bit problematic. But we will make it work We're going to add this into anywhere where we think water will settle, which will cause some corrosion and some oxidization to happen. Even if it doesn't really happen on silver parts, I just think it looks really nice. So I'm happy enough to go out on a limb and just do it where it feels right for me. And it does leave a really nice result. And with that, the model is fully painted and ready for war. The very last step is, of course, to get all those additional panels and pieces, the head, the arms, and the kind of center cannon off their mini plinths, get the model assembled, and give you guys a final reveal of what the model looks like. And here we have it. The beautiful new Defiler, finished, ready to be added onto my Death Guard shelf, matching the army really well. It was not a pain to build. It was by no means a pain to paint. I actually thoroughly enjoyed it, and in total it took a little over 6 hours to paint from start to finish, and I think that's pretty good going for a model that seems as complex as this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I only did this video because I got pestered in the comments of my last video that I should do this, so here you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed that I got it out so quick for you. So thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the next video.